Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about a moment that changed the tone of the war almost instantly, a moment when Russia struck civilians, a moment that drew outrage across the world, and a moment that led to an immediate and calculated response from Ukraine. The events unfolded with speed, precision, and a level of strategic clarity that shocked analysts and stunned audiences. What we're exploring today is not just retaliation, it's the deeper story of how one act triggered another, how the cycle of aggression and counter-aggression keeps reshaping the battlefield, and how Ukraine's answer to the civilian attack became one of its most talked-about operations in recent months. Russia's strike on civilians wasn't just another attack. It came at a time when people believed the intensity of bombardments had stabilized, when communities were trying to rebuild some sense of normal life. The missiles landed in residential districts far away from any meaningful military infrastructure. Families were preparing meals, children were in courtyards, elderly people were resting in their homes. In a few seconds, the landscape changed: dust clouds, fireballs, collapsed concrete, shattered glass. Emergency responders rushed in, neighbors screamed out names, and the familiar scenes of chaos that Ukrainians hoped were becoming less frequent returned once again. For Ukraine, this was not only a military escalation, it was a psychological strike, an attack aimed at morale and daily life. International reactions came quickly. Countries condemned the strike, leaders issued statements, and global news outlets broadcast footage of the destruction. But inside Ukraine, the response took a different form. Ukraine's military leadership held immediate consultations, intelligence teams began urgent evaluations, and drone operators were placed on high alert. The conversation shifted from analyzing damage to determining a response that would demonstrate strength, precision, and strategic capability. The goal was clear: deliver an answer that would resonate far beyond the front line. Within hours, Ukraine mobilized its long-range drone units. These were not improvised machines, they were carefully engineered drones designed for deep strike missions, meant to penetrate Russian defenses and hit critical assets. Ukraine selected its target with surgical calculation. Instead of retaliating against civilians, Ukraine chose a purely military objective, a location tied directly to Russian operations. This decision alone carried a powerful message. The strike had to be measured, controlled, and focused, sending a message that Ukraine's retaliation would always differ from Russia's approach. Intelligence teams confirmed that Russia had increased activity at a key military installation. Satellite imagery showed movement, heat signatures indicated machinery was running, and intercepted communications hinted that Russian units believed Ukraine was too occupied with the aftermath of the civilian strike to mount a rapid response. Ukrainian commanders knew this assumption gave them a narrow but decisive window. They prepared the drones, programmed the routes, and monitored the changing wind conditions. Every variable mattered. A single miscalculation could cause the drones to miss, and Ukraine's message would lose its impact. As night fell, the drones took off. The scene was quiet, with operators focused on their screens, tracking the drones as they traveled through layers of Russian airspace. Russia's air defenses were active, scanning the skies, firing intermittently at false targets, expecting the usual patterns. But Ukraine's drones were flying an adjusted route, one shaped using fresh intelligence, one that skirted the edges of radar coverage, one that exploited blind spots created by the weather and terrain. Every kilometer the drones advanced increased the tension among operators. Every minute they weren't detected lifted morale. The moment of impact was recorded from multiple angles. Ukrainian drones struck the Russian installation with extraordinary accuracy. Fireballs erupted, fuel storage ignited, equipment was destroyed, and secondary explosions indicated that Ukraine had hit ammunition or sensitive electronics. In a matter of seconds, the installation went from active to paralyzed. The strike was not symbolic, it was operationally devastating. Ukraine didn't just retaliate emotionally, it retaliated strategically, crippling part of Russia's military capability. News of the Ukrainian strike spread rapidly across Russia's own channels. Shocked military bloggers posted videos analyzing the lost equipment and criticizing the failure of defenses. Some argued that Russia was caught unprepared because it underestimated Ukraine's readiness. Others said the strike revealed new Ukrainian drone capabilities. Regardless of interpretation, one message became clear. Ukraine's retaliation was immediate, intelligent, and devastatingly effective. In Ukraine, the response lifted morale instantly. The public, shaken by the civilian attack, now felt a sense of restored confidence. Social media filled with messages praising the military, celebrating the precision strike, and emphasizing that Ukraine would not allow civilian deaths to go unanswered. The government released a short statement acknowledging the operation without revealing details, maintaining discipline while allowing the public to understand that justice had been delivered. Strategists began analyzing the deeper significance of the exchange. What made Ukraine's retaliation so brilliant wasn't just the speed or accuracy, it was the psychological dimension. Russia attempted to instill fear and instability by hitting civilians. Ukraine replied by hitting a military lifeline. One side aimed at pain, the other aimed at capability. This contrast reinforced global sympathy for Ukraine while further isolating Russia diplomatically. The retaliation fit within the broader strategy Ukraine has been employing for months. Degrade Russian logistics, weaken command structures, and push deeper into Russian territory with long-range precision drones. Another layer to Ukraine's response was the deliberate timing. Analysts observed that Ukraine executed the strike before Russia could adjust its defensive posture. By reacting quickly, Ukraine caught Russian defenses in a moment of vulnerability. This speed demonstrated a level of readiness and competence that many militaries take years to develop. It also showed that Ukraine's drone infrastructure is maturing rapidly, with improved navigation systems, extended range, and enhanced payload capabilities. But Ukraine's message wasn't just for Russia. It was for its allies as well. By proving it can respond with precision and discipline, Ukraine reaffirmed its value as a modern, technologically capable partner in the global defense landscape. It showed that investments in Ukrainian defense technology are paying off, that training and intelligence support from allies are being used effectively, and that Ukraine is not just surviving the war, but evolving its strategic capabilities. Meanwhile, inside Russia, the aftermath of the strike created new pressures. Military commanders were forced to explain how drones penetrated air defense systems that were supposed to be among the strongest in the world. Engineers were sent to the site to assess damage, and senior officers faced questions about why early warning systems failed. Each Ukrainian strike like this has a cumulative effect, undermining confidence among Russian troops and exposing weaknesses that Russia struggles to fix quickly. Even more interesting is how Ukraine uses these retaliatory moments to test Russian defenses. Every successful deep strike mission teaches Ukraine new information, where radar blind spots are, which defense systems are slow to respond, how rapidly Russia shifts to new frequencies, and how weather affects Russian detection range. This knowledge not only improves future missions, but helps Ukraine map out broader strategies that could shape future offensives. The Ukrainian public also understood the importance of these strikes. They recognized that while civilian losses are heartbreaking, Ukraine's strength lies in its ability to respond with intelligence and precision. People shared videos of the drone strikes, emphasizing that Ukraine would not allow attacks on civilians to break its spirit. The narrative shifted from tragedy to resilience, from victimhood to action. International observers, including military experts, highlighted that this operation represented a shift in modern warfare. Small countries with strong technological capabilities can challenge larger militaries with agility, innovation, and accurate intelligence. Ukraine's use of long-range drones has become a defining feature of the war, demonstrating that traditional air superiority can be challenged by creative drone tactics that bypass expensive defense networks. In the broader war context, this episode reminded everyone that Ukraine is fighting not only to defend its territory, but to prove that modern tactics can change the trajectory of conflict. Each successful strike sends a message to NATO, European partners, and global powers watching from afar. Innovation can offset size, discipline can offset numbers, and rapid decision-making can offset heavy weaponry. As the days passed, Russia attempted its usual narrative countermeasures, downplaying the Ukrainian strike and claiming minimal damage. But satellite images and independent assessments contradicted those claims. Analysts confirmed significant losses at the facility, including destroyed equipment that would take months to replace. Russia's weakened logistics chain, already strained by sanctions, now faced additional pressure. Ukraine's rapid retaliation also triggered discussions about future escalation. Some feared that Russia might attempt another wave of civilian attacks. Others argued that the precision and effectiveness of Ukraine's response could discourage Russia from assuming Ukraine is vulnerable after civilian strikes. The reality is that both sides are constantly calculating risk, and Ukraine's message was simple. Every attack on civilians will be met with an answer, and that answer will hurt Russia's ability to wage war. The long-term implications are still unfolding. Ukraine demonstrated that it can maintain operational discipline even under emotional pressure. This is a rare trait in wartime. Many nations, when struck at their civilian centers, react impulsively. Ukraine, however, reacted intelligently, and this difference enhances its credibility both militarily and diplomatically. In the end, what stands out is the contrast. Russia tried to break Ukraine's spirit by targeting ordinary people. Ukraine responded by weakening Russia's military, making it clear that its strategy is grounded in principles, precision, and purpose. This is what makes the response instant, brilliant, and deeply symbolic. Ukraine's message resonated globally. Strength isn't shown by attacking the innocent. Strength is shown by targeting the systems that enable aggression. And Ukraine proved once again that it possesses both the courage and the capability to defend its people without losing its strategic clarity. As the conflict continues, events like these remind the world why this war is being watched so closely. It's not just a battle of armies, it's a battle of ideas, of discipline versus chaos, of targeted strategy versus indiscriminate violence. Ukraine's rapid retaliation will be remembered as one of those moments when the world saw how a smaller nation can outthink and outmaneuver a larger adversary through intelligence, innovation, and unwavering resolve.